I'm Cindy Lambdin, and I'm here today to take you through continuous decision improvement by using an example. And we're going to be starting with the very first element of any design process, which is planning. Dr. Aragon talked to you in the previous segment about the choice mobile. The choice mobile is a very important vehicle. It is our driver for how we're going to get through our decision process. And it's important that you stay focused on a few elements as we're going through today. One of the most important elements is trust and humility. Trust and humility is critical to making our decision processes flow forward. If the people involved in our decision don't trust us, they're not going to participate at the maximum level in order to give you a quality process. And humility, being able to accept that the decision that you made may have been wrong. Sometimes we do make wrong decisions, or that our decisions do not go as planned. Now, in the choice mobile and in the continuous decision improvement, please know that one of the things that we want you to do is move from being very intuitively based to deliberately based. And that means slowing down. Underneath this choice mobile, there's a road. And that road is filled with lumps and bumps and curves and hills. And yes, there are stop signs. And those stop signs have a very specific purpose. They're to slow you down. They're to make you think through that process in a more deliberative manner than what you're used to. It doesn't feel natural to you to slow down. We get handed problems all the time. Maybe they're a problem, maybe they're not, but they are handed to you, and you must, in fact, make that determination. Is this something I need to act on or not? What's important here is that we have to stay focused on the types of conflict that are involved in decision making and can throw us off track. So we want to stay focused on cognitive conflict. Cognitive conflict, again, as a refresher, is about staying focused on the ideas and thoughts. And we want to stay away from emotional conflict. Emotional conflict can totally derail your decision-making process. We also want you to focus on shared understanding and commitment, because without those two things, decision processes absolutely cannot move forward. They will stall out, and you'll get into a cycle that you will not be able to get out of. Now, what's underneath all of this process? It's something that most of you are so familiar with and don't even think about on a daily basis. It's PDSA. Plan, do, study, and act. You plan it, you do it, you study it, and then you take an action based on what you discovered during that study process. That applies to decision making as well. Most of us, however, do not make that jump in our decisions. We will make a decision, then we will move further forward without even looking back in our rearview mirror to see, was that a good decision or was that a less than optimal decision, or how we might need to change that. In our scenario today, we're going to be taking something that is very, very common that most of you have done and may have even gone out and done today. You may have gone out to your favorite cell phone provider and made a decision about what cell phone that you wanted to buy for you or your family or maybe even your organization. But for us, our scenario is this. The Information Technology Department has contacted you as the leader, as the director of the department, and made the statement that I've had so many complaints about our cell phone system during our emergency communications that we need to take a deeper look at this. We need to take a deeper dive. And out of preference, he said, there's two systems that we want you to look at. We want you to look at the iPhone system, and we want you to look at the Android system, because those are the two most common platforms out on the market, and those are the platforms that people tend to choose. So underneath this, though, you as the leader need to be thinking in terms of, all right, how do I need to go about this? What you need to do is step back, shift from intuition to deliberation, and then go through a process that includes defining your problem, designing how we're going to make a decision, deciding what actions you want to take to move those decisions forward, and then actually doing it. But let's just start moving this forward just a little bit. What we're going to look at first is our composition, our managerial levers, where we're looking at composition, context, communication, and control. So what is composition? Who do you want to come to the party? Who needs to be invited to be included in determining what this decision is going to be? Now, as a leader, you may just talk to a couple of the closest friends in the room and say, this is what I think is the problem. Who do you think should be invited? But ultimately, you need to expand past a couple of people. Common people to be involved are obviously the manager or the supervisor, end users, doers, implementers, trainers, subject matter experts, people who actually know about the equipment is very important. And don't forget about finance. Somebody's got to pay for this, right? Or at least be able to give us information about how finance would be impacted if they were included in this process. The next component is about context. And context is how quickly do we need to move on this issue? Now, in this particular case, IT is asking for us to be able to give them recommendations within 1 week. So that doesn't give us a lot of time to pull people together and then move forward the remainder of the process. You need to know how people are going to communicate during the course of these actual decision-making processes. Is it going to be built around group consensus? Is it going to be we're going to come together as a group, that we're going to have brainstorming and sharing of ideas? Is it that you're going to be sending people off to actually do some independent research and then bringing it back? You need to think this through because these are important mechanisms to make sure that you have the right information to be able to come to your decision. And then control. You as the leader ultimately have the responsibility of the decision. There's no question about that. You take that on as the leader. But what you do have control over is how does your position in the organization influence this decision-making process? We want for this to be a clean process. We want it to be a collaborative process. And sometimes the best mechanism is to take yourself out of the equation, especially in the beginning, to allow people the freedom to make decisions without that leadership influence. So let's start in with define. Okay, define our problem. What is the real issue that we're dealing with? Quite honestly, we don't know yet. We don't know how big the problem is or how deep it goes. We've got this very generic, broad stroke information in front of us without any of the little details to drill it down. So we can't really clarify it much more than what it currently is until we start bringing in other people who are having those difficulties, right? And if you know who the people are who've been reporting that they're having difficulties, they should be included in the group. As far as that end user group, they're the ones that are having the problem. Let's bring them in. Let's get their opinions about what's going on. Clarify the frame. How wide a scope is the problem or how narrow is it? Is it something that is just about our particular department or is it about maybe our organization as a whole? Are we the only ones that are having this problem? And then try to be clear about what the assumptions may be. You know, is there something that we're going to be willing to accept? Are there certain limitations, such as we know that public health is very limited on funding and funding is being cut even more? Can they be expected to engage and actually take on this responsibility of supplying everyone with cell phones through a very specific vendor? That feels like a really big issue, and I'm not sure that we would be able to achieve that. So know what you can as well as what you can't do, especially if there are hard stops built in already. Clarify the values. What's important to you? What's important to you as an organization? What is our mission? What does it say that we need to do? We need to be able to maintain communications and crisis communications throughout a crisis event. That's what's important in order for us to carry our mission forward. From there, we need to set our objectives and be very clear about what those objectives are. Again, by using our managerial levers, we're going to bring together our group. We're going to lay down the foundation that we want this group to be able to work from as a platform. Everything needs structure. Without that structure, the decision-making process will fall apart. So we're going to move forward with this process of how to decide this decision. Remember, you must plan to plan. Bring the group forward and then communicate to them exactly what you expect from them. First and foremost, talk to them. Don't just send an email, actually get out and find out some information on your own. Give them the logistics. You know, when, where, why? Why are we even doing this? Why do we know it's a problem? Is it just one person's agenda or is it something more global? Please be clear. Set expectations. Set expectations early. Be very clear about what you need from the group and be very firm to follow it throughout the process. Ultimately, tell them what the timeline is for deliverables. Everybody needs to know that this is a short notice project, that we need to be engaged early, that we've got to turn it around and have information back within a week's time. Provide evaluation measures. How do we measure that we're actually moving our process forward? We may be able to come to a decision about recommendations, but we need to be able to go back and critically measure, did our process work or did it not? So be very clear about what those process measures are. And ultimately, moving forward to implement the plan for decision making. You must plan to plan. You must plan to move forward the decision-making process. And ultimately, you must slow down. You must move from intuition to deliberation, which is not normal for most of us. We don't want to slow down. But throughout the next modules that we do, the next couple of videos, we're going to take this scenario and we're going to put it through that decision-making process by slowing it down, by taking a very designed approach in order to get us to our destination. I hope that you'll continue to join us for our next video. Thank you for watching.